Welcome to the Planning, Properties and Speeding Committee meeting and emergency planning. As we haven't got any members of the public, we won't be going to have the public forum, so we'll go straight into the first item on the agenda, which is 021, which is apologies for absence.
None received. Obviously Councillor Steve Lewis isn't.
He's not here. And 022 is declarations of interest. To receive any declarations of interest in accordance with the requirements of the Local Act 2011 and to consider any requests for dispensations in respect of pecuniary and non-pecuniary interests in agenda items.
No.
Anything? No? 023 to approve the minute or the notes of the previous meeting on the 29th of June as minutes and to be signed by the chair. Item 024, planning applications. To agree the responses of planning applications received. Has everybody had a chance to have a look at them? I don't think there's anything particularly contentious in there. There's certainly the only one that potentially is the 5 dwellings, which is outline approval.
That was the one we talked. No, it wasn't. No. No, I looked at them and that's fine.
So,
Is the appeal for the Holbeach Drove travelling site?
I would imagine so. Without looking again, I can't tell you.
I think it's
struggling
just.
here to get there.
That's the 5 dwellings, it's the next one down. That one there, yeah, that one.
Change of paddock to residential.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it is,
so
yeah.
it's that one.
Yeah,
Okay.
so we've already made our comments
We
about
have,
that
yes.
one, so I don't think we need to do any more with that one. So are we happy that we have no objections to any of these?
Yes.
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 Second.
Item B, to resolve to agree the county matters application consultation, which we have a bit of info about, don't we? Yes, so this is all to do with Lowell Lodge Farm and the recycling centre. So it's retrospective.
Yes.
So, I mean, I haven't got any particular
No, I
objections to
didn't.
it.
No, I didn't originally.
I think it's in a sensible place. It's right by the A17. It's not impacting on anybody. I don't really see that there's anything that we need to make
No.
any comment
No.
about.
I agree.
Yeah, so we're happy with that.
Yeah.
Item C, to resolve to agree to respond only if we have a comment on planning applications. I'll hand this one over to Sophie because this was her agenda item.
It's just more for the fact that if, as a council or as a committee, we don't have a comment to make, then I don't see any point in the office team putting it on the system for South Holland saying no objection.
Oh, okay.
Because it's just kind of a waste of time.
I thought this was about, because Jan did say before, unless you've got a comment
Oh yeah.
to make, don't reply to it.
Oh yeah.
No,
But
no,
I-
no,
No,
it's
no,
not
that's
that.
not
You
right.
can do
But
that.
I do,
Between
because-
ourselves, we can
Yeah.
make
Yes.
comments so that we're ready
I
for the
do.
meeting, so
Yes.
that we're
It's
aware.
one that I've read them.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, but this is if we don't have a comment to make as a committee or a council,
No point.
then there's no point putting that on the system.
So
Because
it
it takes-
There's an objection or.
It is an objection, or if we've got a material concern or whatever that we
Yeah.
want to put together.
If we want to submit a comment, then we'll put it on, but if we haven't got anything to make, then just
Yeah.
leave them and record it in the minutes, there's no objection.
Yeah, propose that.
Yeah.
Second? A second?
So on the previous one,
Yeah.
we had no objections, but we needed to resolve to agree, you know, the.
Okay, yeah, so we're
Yeah,
happy that we agree with, to support the consultation.
yeah,
Yes.
we'll support, yeah.
Okay, so item 025 is speeding, and the first item is to agree the locations of the SIDS for August.
I've left them up where they are. They're both still working,
Yeah,
and because Jan's off this week,
yeah,
I didn't want to
no,
bring them down, and I don't know whether Karen knows how to download the.
That's something
Because
I
I
don't know,
don't.
but obviously we'll, yeah, I shall
So
find
I
out.
thought we've got the locations for the next locations, which I've checked, and there are plates up there. So I'll contact Steve, and maybe we'll take them down at the beginning of next week, charge them up, and then put them up again.
yeah.
And that's at Holbeach Bank opposite the playing fields and Fox's Low Road.
Okay, so where, are we going to leave them there for all of August, or are we going to move them partway
I
through?
think they seem to last. I mean, Peter Sparks said they would only last 2 weeks charged, but these have been up now for this will be the 4th week, I think.
Oh, okay.
I don't think there's any it's worth changing them every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I would have thought every 4 weeks,
Every 4
once
weeks.
a month.
Yeah.
Okay,
Makes
so
sense.
are we going to think about where we'd want them to go next, so that we're prepped in case it's before we meet again?
Yeah. So when we move them this time, the locations will be
Yeah,
for August.
yeah,
Yeah.
So we can choose for September then.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
I mean, have we got the ones for Park Road, etc. sorted?
We've
Yeah, I've had a reply back from Graham to
Mhm.
say that he's going to get his lighting crew to go and have a look at the lampposts to see
Okay.
if there's
Okay.
anything on there, and if not, he's going to request that they're put on there, but he's going to let me know.
okay. So it's for us to put the plates up, is it?
They put the plates. They put the
They
plates.
put the
I think
plates
so
so.
I think they do.
Because I have some spare ones.
I don't know.
I can check.
We can find
Yeah.
out.
check. Yeah.
So I think it would be nice to try and have some, like one of them somewhere in the town centre.
I think with the
for
next bit
September.
as well, with the concerns that were raised by St Mark's, it might be worth putting one
One
down
of the
there
marks,
again.
yeah.
Because the traffic obviously is going to be coming through that way again,
Can you
isn't it?
sort of just tell me exactly where they are in St Mark's? Because do you know?
I think there's
Because I did
one,
have a look when I went out to the notice board, and I couldn't find.
I'm sure on the list, I need
It
to
is
have
on
a
the
look.
list.
I'm sure there's one in Leadenhall Road,
Okay.
but I haven't been down to
Well, when I go and put this up, I'll have a look.
have a little look around and see.
But that was brought up, St Mark's, wasn't it?
Yeah,
So
Yeah, so those potentially ought to
Yeah.
be the next ones that we're looking at.
I mean, realistically, for each month you can kind of look at one location in the town, one location in the village, and then kind of do that.
do you think
Cover most things.
that Graham will get back to us before September?
Yes, I'll chase. I'll
Yeah.
chase him anyway. I did chase
It'd
him
be
the
nice
other
to put
day.
it up in Park Road.
Yeah, it's been on
Yeah.
annual leave, and I chased him Monday, and he got back to me to say he was going to.
Okay.
Actually.
So if you could mention Park Road then, to see if they could put a
Yeah, that would be
plate
useful.
up there.
Okay.
Because they have had the speed van out there, haven't they? They have, yes.
Oh, right, so that'd be good if we could get one up.
Yeah.
So we're agreeing potentially that-
September, Park
Yeah.
Road, and then St Mark's.
St Mark's.
Potentially, if we can get the.
If we can
Park
get
Road
it, yeah.
sorted. So, are you proposing that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
second that.
Okay. And then, item B is to receive an update on the locations in High Street, Church Street and Park Road, which you have
Yeah.
just done. Is there anything else you wanted to add to that, Karen, or not?
No.
That's it.
Can I just ask, we did mention Holbeach Drove, didn't we? Did he respond to that at all? There was a photograph, there were two.
Yes.
There was Holbeach Drove and
Yeah.
there was Hallgate. Did he respond to that at all?
I should just have a look. Was one on the bend? Was it the
The one,
sighting on the bend?
the one, the one on Hallgate was the new roundabout coming towards Stevens Way.
Yeah.
It was on one of the posts there because he said people going
Yeah.
round there. So I named the lamp. I took a photograph of it, of the
And then
lamp
the
post.
post.
And the Whole Beach Drove was on the 40-mile-an-hour sign as you approach, before you get to the stores filling station. I took a photo of that as well.
So I'm just having a look what he's put. Sorry, I don't think I chose to talk about that bloody desk question.
I can resend you the photos, I've still got
Yeah,
them.
so I'm sure I must have sent them.
I think the other thing, if you have a look through it, Karen, and see
Yeah,
what
so-
responses we got, and if they haven't considered those ones, if we just,
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yes.
So I'm sure we did.
It was all
Redo them.
the
It was all
same.
together,
It was all
wasn't it? Yeah.
together, yes.
yeah. Okay, so that's B. So item C is to resolve to agree to write to Bacover and contact the police regarding concerns raised by parishioners, which was at our last open forum, which they've got all the information as to what he's requesting and what they've flagged up. So I think it's the only way we're going to deal with it. We can't do anything ourselves, and if Bacover are not made aware of it, then they can't do anything either. So I think if we can write to them with the concerns raised,
Yeah.
and just see whether anything can be done, and then we can try and get
You
something.
contacting the police as well?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then if we can get something down there with speed indicator down there somewhere, then at least we're doing our side of things as well.
Mm-hmm.
So can I propose to write to Bacover and contact the police then?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, all in agreement? Okay. And item D is to discuss and resolve to agree the request from a parishioner to approach LCC read a speed reduction to 20 mph in Holbush and Marks, which again was brought up in the open
Okay.
forum. It's around the school area,
Mm-hmm.
because again, a lot of traffic is coming back through the village from factories, etc., and the tractors and
Yeah.
whatever, and they're going through, I think it's 30 at the minute.
Yeah.
So-
It would be 30 if it's a school.
Yeah.
But they would like to look at the possibility of getting it down to 20, which,
Well, if you've got a primary school there,
Yeah.
I mean, it's not
It
going
would
to be.
be a recommendation, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it
It's
would,
the group
yeah.
sign.
yes, it's
yeah.
not a compulsory, but
Well,
it's,
although you can now do.
They are
compulsory.
talking about it now, aren't they? Of
Yeah.
Reducing to
So
20
no,
mile an hour.
I do.
They were wanting the 20 they're wanting to put in the high street area and whatever will be in enforceable 20 all the time.
I do think, personally, I think every school should have a 20 outside, because it's logical.
Yeah.
So I think maybe if we
Yeah.
put it together, say we've been approached by parishioners about Holbush and Marks,
Yeah.
but we would also request that all schools
Holbush
throughout.
Bank, 20.
I'm not sure
That's
whether
probably
it
not,
is,
is
but
Yeah.
because here again as well, outside of
That's
Street,
not
I know
20,
it's
is it?
not immediately on the roadside, but it's not a 20.
I mean,
Yeah.
Whole Beach Bank is on a junction as well.
It is, yeah.
Well, I know that area would be one of the bits inclusive of where they were wanting to do the new 20 in town.
But if we could,
But if we can also
Preempt it.
request it.
I mean, this was in the national press the last week or so
Was it?
about reducing speed limits in towns and village centres to 20 from
Yeah.
30.
Yeah, well, if it's a national thing, then there shouldn't really be any objection to
No.
doing it, should there?
So if we can approach LCC and copy in our
Mhm.
local county councillor as well, so that she
That would not be,
well, it wouldn't, for St Mark's, it would be,
That'd be Harwich Rural.
it would, so that'd be Peak to Copeland.
Mm-hmm.
Is
So,
it? Really?
yes, for Harwich Rural.
Tracy
for
only goes
LCC.
to town.
Yeah, for LCC.
LCC.
Yeah.
So
that's
if we
optional.
copy him in,
Mm-hmm.
and also Tracy, because if we're asking about,
Other areas
Yeah.
that cover the town, yeah.
so, no proposal for that? Thank you, Peter. Sophie, I agree. Emergency planning, I think you have an update, Karen, don't you?
Yeah, I've been in contact with a gentleman, he's been on annual leave, but he's more than willing to come over here to help assist us to do it. I've had a look at it myself and we just need, on most of them, his suggestion was we need a second name and an emergency contact number for keys and everything on some of them that's
Are
been
these the
filled in.
bits that,
Yeah, so I've gone through and highlighted
Yes.
it with what we need to change, as in
Okay.
we need to take Mark off there and Sam Favell off there and
Yeah.
replace, decide who's going to go
Yeah.
on there. I presume that might be me and Jan.
Jan, I think
yeah,
that
you know,
we decided
if
that.
we're going to be
Yeah, it
looking after it, or
depends.
two other people.
It
Jan
depends
and
on
somebody
what
else.
we're needing. I mean, if we're needing
Them
access to keys in the building and whatever, then it needs to be somebody local as well as, because
So
both
I might
of you
have
live
to,
in, yeah, you're both
we're
moving
going to
away,
get
aren't you?
passed out,
So
yeah.
I think we need to go through it properly again, and maybe that's a
Yeah.
meeting
Well, I suppose
with
as well,
ourselves.
it's
Yeah.
whether, are you having key holders, i.e. they keep the keys with them, or are you having a place where keys are kept?
Yeah.
So I think obviously them sort of questions we can ask when he comes to see what they recommend.
You can do. I think it might be worth, before he comes, if we have a separate get-together between us all
Yeah.
and start to try and work out our response to those questions,
Yeah.
and then
talk
we
it
can
through.
then talk it through with him before we fill it all out again.
Yeah.
That'd probably be the best thing. So
Because it's what's
maybe,
practical for the local area.
maybe should we do that prior to our next meeting? So we have a meeting to do that first, then
Yeah.
follow it by our
Yeah.
planning meeting,
Mhm.
and then it ticks it out of the way, and then
Yeah.
you and Jan haven't got to do everything,
Yeah.
but we can go through it bit by bit and work out if there's anything that needs a bit of a tweak and
Mhm.
what we would suggest,
Yeah.
and then present it to him when he comes out.
Yeah, so we need to organise a date for that and then a date for him to come out. I did put an email out, was anybody not available, any dates people weren't available, but I haven't had anything to say, so it is really, give him a few dates
Mhm.
Yeah.
and you can do it
But how soon is he wanting to?
as soon as we like, as long as, you know, if he's available,
Okay.
he'll come. He just wanted some dates we could offer.
Or really, we could just meet with him then and
You'll
just
meet
go
with
through
him
it.
and then go through it and then fill it out.
Yeah.
So whatever people are available then.
Um,
What, next, if we try and get it wrapped up in the next couple of weeks, sort of by mid-August?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Needs to be a day that you've got availability, both of you, or at least one of you.
Well, Jan's back on Wednesday the 3rd.
Yeah, so give her at least a week to get settled back in.
Mm-hmm. And then
So far, the Wednesday and the Thursday, 17th and 18th, there's nothing in there at the moment. Or there's I've got the girls, the 15th and the 22nd, so the 23rd or 25th.
Wednesdays are a good day for me.
Mhm.
In the afternoon is better.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So if we try and do something around there, see what he comes up with. If not, well, if you offer him the Wednesday the 17th
Yeah.
and potentially, do you want a day the following week as well, just in case? He can't do that one.
Wednesday the 24th.
Yeah, 'cause we've got PRNIT at 11 o'clock, so that could be the
After
afternoon.
that,
After
yeah.
that.
After that.
Yeah, do after that.
If you just say that we are flexible, so,
Yeah.
you know.
And then if he comes back and gives me them dates, we can then.
Yeah, then we can just, book in whenever he's free.
Yeah.
That'd be easier.
Okay. Item 027, properties. Item A is to resolve to agree to apply for an extension on the planning permission and listed building consent for cemetery chapels. Over to Sophie.
Right, I did a bit of a research this morning. You can't extend planning permission anymore
Oh,
since 2010, which is wonderful. So, I didn't look too much into listed building consent, but with planning permission, you either have to reapply or you've had to start works, and it would have to be like a material impact to the area to say you've started work. So they're suggesting things like digging trenches for foundations, demolishing parts of buildings, erecting parts of buildings, etc., etc. Which that's not anything that we would be wanting to actually do to the chapels, is it?
does the roof count?
Well, the roof was classed as repair and maintenance, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So it didn't require planning permission anyway. It only required listed building consent, and I believe we used the existing listed building consent to do that. So I think it would be worth contacting the planning department at South Holland, explaining sort of the general what we're wanting to do to the chapels, which the only thing, generally it's restoring and maintaining it, isn't it? So probably work to the brickwork, plaster inside, windows, etc. The only thing that might require the planning permission element would be change of use.
Change of use.
But I suppose is what is the use of it currently, and what permission do you need for change of use? Because I know they relaxed the change of use planning laws quite a lot recently, over lockdown. So I don't know whether the planning permission, I suppose what I'm saying is I don't know whether we really need planning permission for any of the work we need to do anyway, because we're not doing what the trust wanted to do. It would be more the listed building consent, but those were both granted in January 2020. So 3 years is January 2023, so you haven't got long. But I'm suspecting that if we used the listed building consent already granted for the work to the roof, that would constitute it being started. But if we could have that confirmed, then at least we know that anything within the scope of the work's already given permission we can do without any more consent required.
So are you happy to liaise with either Joan or Karen to put together an email to whoever?
Yeah.
I think if it goes to somebody senior.
If it goes to somebody senior, but also probably copies in conservation officer, just to double check, but yes, so.
Because we need to action that fairly quickly. And I mean, as part of their plans, the idea was partly change of use. So whether...
But obviously there's nothing material as part of that, so can we still change use? But obviously we're not going to change use until the repair work's done, so it's just if we are going to keep it, if we're going to use it as, say, for funerals, weddings, and then also for basically a historical centre for the cemetery, does that require a change of use? Because realistically it was a chapel, it was used for funerals and services anyway. We just need to clarify everything. A bit of clarification then. Okay, so if we can get that hopefully by next meeting, and then we know what we're doing, because then hopefully we'll also know whether we're able to restart the works as well. Yeah.
Hopefully, by that stage. So, proposer then to contact. Thank you.
Second.
Item B is to resolve to agree to apply to the Crown Estates for the siting of a shipping container belonging to Holbridge Bank Football Club. This is quite a long running saga. You have you got an update on that one or not? I don't know if it's on there or not. I know they're not aware, they haven't had any contact at all, have they?
No.
They've got nothing,
They've
they've
got
checked
nothing
back.
on record that we've
Okay.
contacted or anybody's contacted
Yeah,
them
just
about
the-
the shipping container. But they have no issue with the benches, do they? I think I read somewhere, I can't remember where I read it now.
Yeah,
So the benches are not an issue, but the shipping container,
we need to ask for
we need to
permission.
ask for permission.
Does it need to be there?
Well,
What's it? I was just saying earlier, what's in it?
I believe from what they've said before, they had it there for storage when they were doing the renovation works, were they not?
I don't know whether they're still using
they
it for
continue to
storage or
use it
not.
for storage?
Possibly, I don't know.
Presumably Rachel would know.
Yes, she would do, but I think we just literally need to formally contact them
And then
and say, photograph it, say this is what it is, this is the position of it, have you any objections to it, and see what they say.
Yeah.
Because it may be that they have an objection to it being where it is. They may not have an objection to it being on the field, but they may object
It's a
to
bit
it
of a
being
nice-
where it
It
is.
is a bit of an eyesore.
Or they may say screen it,
Yes.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But until we actually contact them properly, we won't know. And then obviously we can then contact and either confirm or suggest what needs to be done. So again, if we can have a proposal to contact the Crown about that.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely. So if we can get a photograph of it,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm happy to nip down and just take a photograph and ping it to you. So
Well,
you
I'll
have
be
to.
going
Are you
and
going
do
that way?
a notice board anyway.
Okay, so if you could
Possibly
just,
not this afternoon, but
well,
this
when you're
week.
down there then Peter, if you could just take a photograph of it and
Yeah.
sort of show it in context of where it is.
Is.
Then at least we've got everything we need to send to them then. Item 028 is to resolve to agree the response to the town and parish survey. It didn't really give a lot of information, did it?
That was the scrutiny review of town and parish centres.
Yeah.
Well, they were wanting us to, sure when I looked at it with Jan, there was a form, wasn't there?
Yeah,
That's
the
brilliant.
complete name, date, everything.
Which was that?
Alright, so it's just a basic form then. Name of parish, name of contact. What they're wanting. Does the council have any evidence or information on your town centre that you would wish to share? For example, this could cover the changes over the last 5 years, including the effects of the pandemic. Any information you have on the number and percentage of vacant town centre units, in addition to retail topics such as education, leisure, entertainment, tourism and any other services. Yeah, so it's a bit, they just want to know information about the town, so we definitely need to get it filled in.
When does it need to be filled in by?
30th of September.
Okay. Would it be something to probably put on full council then? Because it does affect the whole.
It does, but we need to work out what the response, we need
the
to sit down
vacant.
with people to actually fill it out, don't we?
Oh yeah, we need to actually fill it out. But in terms of, the vacant plots is easy. Shops.
Are there any initiatives or events that your council has promoted or has planned to stimulate activity? Yeah, so again, yes, so we can fill in the bits
Yeah.
that we're doing.
We can fill in the bits that are obviously definite facts, but in terms of any comments people want to make about
Yeah.
the town centre,
Yeah.
I think that needs to be.
So it may be, I think if we could potentially do a draft
Yeah.
of the responses prior to the full
And send it to full
council.
council for approval.
Yeah,
Yeah, and then the main thing is working out how many empty shops you've actually got. And it depends what area you're going to count.
Yeah.
Because obviously you've got the 5-way junction and the shops going down that way as well, haven't you?
Yeah, we're going to have to count what would be considered the town centre, so from West End all the way through to
High Street.
the co-op end and the little roads off really, aren't you? That's what you're going to have to consider. So if we, between us on planning, if we start to draft it and circulate it between ourselves first,
Mhm.
then off to full council for any comment
Yeah.
before it's sent off.
Mhm.
Okay, so we're deferring that one to full council.
Yeah, I would say
So if we can change the agenda point to resolve to defer the item to the next full council meeting. We're
Mhm.
going to have a proposer for that. And then the actual agenda item now is to resolve to defer it. So you've proposed to do that, so it's fine. Okay, so
Yeah, because there's just a thing on there, the attached document to tell you how to complete it, so it just gives you
right, so
time
if we
to
have a look at that and go through it.
What date is that?
30th September it needs to be done before.
When did the email come in?
18th of July.
Mhm. Yes, if we circulate that again, it's probably
Yeah.
planning, and then we can have a read through, and also that guidance document would be useful, wouldn't it? Of how
So
to
if
fill
you
it
can
in.
just circulate that to planning and Karen by the end of the week if you can. And then we can start having a look at it. And then 029 is projects. To discuss projects for 2023-24. The main one is the chapel,
Hmm.
which
Yeah.
again, we need to start really thinking about what we're aiming to do and how soon are we wanting to do it.
Well, I would say the work you're kind of looking at is, I believe in the documents when they were doing their plan applications, there was work to the brickwork, but I don't think that's probably
It's not essential, is it?
essential. That could be done.
There's some cracking, but nothing.
Nothing
I've never
major.
seen inside, so
One side's not too bad, the other side's not so
hoping
good.
when the guy from the back
Hmm.
will be open, so I'll go and have a look.
It's not too bad, to be honest, is it really? The floor, to be honest, is not in too bad a condition. Clean up would probably work. I think we're going to have to actually have a look inside it to see. But maximum, you would probably be looking at the brickwork as a desirable but not necessary. Lime plaster inside.
It'd have to be lime plaster if you're going to do it. One,
Does it need
Once-
replastering?
the better side has got patches that could do with being plastered,
Touched up. Yeah.
but in general it's not too bad. The other side would need completely replastering.
Really?
I think so, yeah, because it's been very damp in there.
Right. Okay.
But depending on what usage you were going to do for which side,
Yeah.
do you really need full-on lime plaster doing straight away? Maybe not. It may be something that you could put off to another year for that side.
I mean,
And if you could get one side,
realistically, to use them, you don't need much work doing to use them, but in kind of a project to gradually restore them, if that's what you're kind of looking at doing eventually, then
Is there any natural light in either side?
not at the moment.
there would be if you had the windows, which I don't know what condition the windows are in behind those.
They're not too bad, apart from the fact that they kept getting stones thrown through them, and that was the
So
reason why the boarding went over
So
them.
you would need to have a grill if you open them.
I'm sure they had a grill, but
Okay.
even with that, it got like the mesh, and
Yes.
they gradually got broken. They are clear,
Yeah.
they're not stained glass.
Mm.
But initially, it would probably be better just to leave them boarded with the artwork on
Mhm.
and look at trying to do something with your porches to allow some sort of light coming in from the sides.
I mean,
Because the porches are,
the breeze
Yeah.
blocked up.
yeah, get
doorway
those
looks
sorted out.
awful.
Mhm.
You're
Yeah.
going to have to, that's not good, is it? It needs
No,
to be sorted.
that needs to be redone, so all of those random bricks need to be taken out and done properly. You would have to, yeah, I mean, 1, 2, 4 windows, isn't it? And 2 doors, but again, the doors don't have to necessarily be working doors, they can just be a false door.
Yeah.
But just so it looks, I think that would be something you'd want to do quite quickly.
Yeah.
electrical work being checked and done?
There were
What
electrics done in there not that long ago, because that was requested by the Chapels Trust for when they had functions. So
Okay.
there has been some electrical
Because I know
work
we were
done in
wanting to
there.
use the electrics from one of them for the
Yeah.
CCTV.
I don't know how much it supplies, what it does,
Mhm.
but there certainly has been newer electrics done in there.
No,
So
no heating.
no heating there.
Okay.
So from the point of view, if you think about it logically, if it were to become a venue for like small services for funerals or cremations or whatever,
Mm.
and a potential wedding venue, you would probably get away with some electric heaters in there,
Yeah.
just because it'd only be a very short term that you'd want them on.
I would say, so the best chapel, I mean, if you could do the little windows and the doors to make it look restored, restore the doors or replace the doors, but you probably could restore them to the actual
Actual thing, yeah.
chapel,
Yeah.
because if you're trying to make it look nice as a wedding venue, you probably touch up the lime plaster, you wouldn't
Yeah.
need to completely replaster,
Yeah.
clean the floors, and then it would be the windows that you'd have to do
Something like
in the wedding side.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have to do them in the other side,
No.
but obviously if you were wanting natural light, then you would need to.
And you'd need to then obviously look at making sure that, I don't know which side the electrics were done, whether it's both sides, one side, whatever, but you need to make sure that they were suitable in there.
Which side is the best side?
As you're coming from Park Road, it's the right hand side.
Oh, okay, and that's the one that doesn't currently have the electrics in, is it?
I think that, yeah, I don't know. I think it has got some, but I don't know whether it's been upgraded or not. I'm not sure.
So the
Yeah, we
left
need
hand
to look
side
at
is
it.
the one that you'd be wanting to use for historical
Historical.
centre, etc.
Yeah.
I think the best thing to do, I mean, I think we need to visit and put an actual list together of what works need to be done to open it up. If we can get it opened up and used, then if you continue then developing it and working on it, you're not going to hopefully get as many problems if it's in use, are you?
No.
Um,
So, I mean, the quickest one to get open would be historical centre, because
Yeah.
all you need is going to be electric supply and your digital board.
The left-hand side is the worst side, but that is the side that's got the electrics in, I
I
think.
think so, it's got the better electrics in that.
Because that's the one they
believe.
had the projector in
Yeah.
last time. So that could be sorted.
Fairly
quite quickly.
swiftly. I mean, it is damp, but once it's starting to be used, the damp and the roof will be
But
sorted.
to be honest, I mean, like those doors, how much work do they need?
Well, the outside doors.
Yeah.
They just need stripping back and
They're repainting. So I mean, we can even do that just to tidy up.
Yeah.
Are they stained or painted?
painted.
Painted.
But if you stripped it all,
If you
and
stripped
got
it all
back
back,
to the good
yeah.
wood,
You just stain it.
Yeah,
Or
whatever.
yeah.
I think it'd be nice.
So if you costed that one out, it's not going to be horrendous. And even the other side, to be honest, you've got to look into
It's
the,
too bad.
you've got to look into what you need to do to make it into a venue.
Yeah, to make it into a venue, I think you're going to be looking at retouching the lime plaster, the windows. We would want to restore the windows and doors that have been taken out as well. Brickwork can be done at a later stage. That's not a requirement, I wouldn't have thought, unless it's not falling down, is it? It's going to have a new roof on it, so you wouldn't be then getting the damp problem, hopefully. But yeah, windows and lime plaster really, I would say.
And even,
And a
to
bit
be
of
honest,
electrical work possibly.
even the lime plaster, it's patchy, but for a wedding venue,
But if you're
shabby
only,
chic is quite desirable, isn't it?
I
To
would
be
say
honest.
have a look at it and see how bad it is, but also if it's only a few patches that just needs a bit of touch up. If it means it's going to restore it.
When can I go and have a look?
The problem is we can't
I know,
access
so we
in
can't-
there at the minute because
But
they've got
the
the
ecologist
terrace
is meant to
around
be
it.
coming.
Yes, yeah, and that was
the fourth.
Fourth.
Yeah, just waiting for them to confirm the time. It's
Yeah.
asked for it for the 4th of
And have we got
August.
Is the contractor coming to open up the irresponsible?
I'm assuming so, they're going to have to,
They're
aren't they?
not they? But if we could then have a look at the same time,
Yeah.
because I think really, if we can work out what we actually want to do and start getting some quotes in ready, I know you might not want to do all the work next year or whatever, but if you've then actually got an idea of how much it's going to cost, if it's, I mean, if it costs 20 grand, you've already spent 36 this year, and well, that was budgeted for the previous year, but it's not, you know, it's not like we haven't done it before, is it? It's not like we can't manage to squeeze it into the budget. If it's actually going to create a venue for the public and then start also generating an income if you're going to be renting it out, let's get on with it, really.
Well, if we can gain access next week, if somebody, I mean, Peter, you want to go down and have a look
Yeah,
anyhow.
up to.
If you can go down and take loads of photographs,
Yeah.
and then we can get some opinions from various people.
Yeah, I mean, there was so much work done to it from the Chapel's Trust. Obviously, they were doing a lot of work to it, additional work. Most of their costings would have been their groundworks, connecting up to the sewerage and all those sort of things as well. Because obviously you don't have any toilets, etc. in there currently. And I don't think that would be a requirement, would it, really?
There's no need, isn't it? I mean, if you're going to have a wedding or whatever there, you can always hire in your trailers
Mhm.
if you wanted to, but they're
But it's
not
only
going to
going to
be
be
in
the
there very long.
ceremony, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it's
I
a
think
small
unless you're
ceremony.
providing food and drink and beverages,
There's
you
no
don't,
need to
you
have
don't
No.
need toilets.
Exactly, so, yeah.
They're kitchen facilities, aren't
Don't need it to look at it. And then start to really look at how soon we can get it done.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And then in terms of like, you know, wanting to restore the windows, obviously one of the areas we're going to do CCTV on is the chapels.
they?
So if you've got the windows open, then opened up and not boarded up, if they get damaged, you'll be able to see who damages them. So, you know, it will be a deterrent. But yeah.
So that is really our most important project. There's
Yes.
nothing else that I can think of.
Um,
I mean, there is,
you can, yeah.
from the point of view of general stuff, which would come under general maintenance, we do need to get to the bottom of the situation with the 2 High Street and the roof space, because looking up at that, the fascia boards are looking bad, and if it is our responsibility, we do need to get that costed in, and that's going to be quite an expensive one because people are going to have proper scaffolding, and
Because the roof
because they're going to
spaces-
have to probably even look at some form of potential road
Is that
closure.
listed as well? Is it
No.
listed?
No, it's not
No.
listed. But the roof space is shared between 2 and not toilets, isn't it?
Yeah, and I was always told that the roof
Was
was the
district.
responsibility of the district. But,
Should be a
Like-
fire partition in there. anyway.
well, I suspect there isn't. But we need to get to the bottom of it because it's not going to be a cheap one, and if the slates are starting to shift a bit, which they are a little bit, but they're not too bad, we
Yeah.
do need to keep an eye on that one. So we might have to put a little bit more into our general maintenance fund for next year, just in case for that.
Yeah.
And
Well, I
then
think
you've also got the other element that you might have to budget for.
Yeah. But I think if you haven't got anything specifically in mind for general maintenance, then have a decent sized budget available, because
Yeah.
you don't know what's going to crop up. I mean, you've got a whole year and a bit, haven't you,
Yeah.
to go through, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so if we can start, I mean, we can get a general ballpark figure, because we can ask somebody
Yeah, if
to
we
give
know,
us a general idea of, if, looking at the state of it, if we wanted to do X, Y and Z, what would we be looking at, which would give us something to be working with.
which would then, you'd then know whether you want to do all of it next year, part of it next year, bare minimum next year, because it's ridiculously expensive, or what you're going to do. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll try and, so if, can you contact Manor Roofing, Karen, and just ask them if it would be possible for a couple of our councillors to have access on that day when the ecologist comes, because we just wanted to take some internal photographs and stuff.
Yep.
And we can arrange a time that's suitable. Okay. And then B is to discuss projects for the UK Shared Prosperity Fund. Again, that's over to you because you've got a little bit more info that you've...
Yeah, there was a press release done the other week because they've submitted their investment plan, so they're waiting for that to come back. It could be quite tight with spending the money this year because new Prime Minister, etc., tends to delay things. So as soon as they get the approval done for their investment plan, they can start basically spending the money, which will be when they're sort of doing the bids and things. But they did say in the paper that it's only going to be approximately about 20% of the fund used for capital projects, and the rest is going to be revenue. So you're looking at funding the ongoing costs of a group, rent for a property, whatever you want to do, events, etc. So
There's nothing really that comes under our remit, is there?
I think there's going to be a lot of it that could come under open spaces because you could utilise the park for various different activities and you know, initiatives and things like that. I mean, we rent out stuff at a reasonable rate to various groups anyway, currently. The only thing would be if you wanted to rent a property for a group, but then that can be done between the group and South Holland directly rather than us as the middleman, I suppose. Yeah.
So I don't think there's anything that we need to be thinking about putting forward.
All of the projects that we're really wanting to do are capital funding, aren't they? Really. And you probably won't get too much of it. The only things that you probably would get a bit of capital funding in for would be, I don't know, new planters or something small where it's not going to cost much. Which I know they were asking about that for Holwich St Mark's, weren't they, in the forum?
They were actually,
So
yeah, so
you
that
could-
might be something that we can point
I know
in the direction.
from the press release that went out, they're looking at Nick Worth really wants to do more in the villages because, I mean, he's quite rightly saying that, you know, 50 grand in Spalding will be swallowed up quite quickly, but £10,000 in a village will do a lot of good. So I think, you know,
Maybe then, I mean, I know it's not a lot, but again, the Holwich Herne play area, which has
Yeah.
been brought up again. There's
Look
no
at that.
reason why they can't approach, but you know, we can help them if they need
Yeah.
help, but it's not ours to.
no, it's not ours to bid for, but we can put the suggestion forward to them.
Yeah.
And if they want help writing the bid when it comes out and with the process, by all means, and the same with probably those parishioners at Holwich St Mark's. I know they were asking for plant or permission to site a planter, but if they want any more planters and things like that, if they've got a group, gardening group together, then by all means, don't know whether there's anything St John's or Droveway that you like.
There are no sort of public areas in St John's really, and there certainly isn't in Old Beach Trove.
No. I suppose the only other thing is generally is the use of village halls, isn't it? That could be something revenue based to support village halls if they haven't got a lot of bookings, etc. And also support a local group if they need a place to go. But if there's people who want to use it, fine. But it's what you'd actually be funding.
The only thing that Old Beach St John's is used for is the Women's Institute, and they have a rainbow group. But other than that, I don't think there's...
Would there be, I mean, are there particular things like funding and some activities or something whereby we could put together a bid whereby you're doing a whole range of activities within, say, St John's Hall, so we're paying for the actual hiring of the hall, but also
Providing
providing
activity.
activity for a different range of ages. I don't know, because they did talk about at one stage potentially doing like films and stuff like that down there, but that sort of fell by the wayside because of the acoustics and stuff in there, and then you've got your seating, you know, people are sitting for any length of time, they want comfortable seating, don't they? But maybe, I don't know whether there's other activities that they would want to do.
I mean, the population of the village is so small,
Yeah.
and looking at the last census, they're mostly older people, retired people, a few families, but
Probably something to, because we're going to Holwich Hand for the forum and the meeting. If we've got, hopefully we'll have our regular members of the public there.
yeah.
We can ask them if there's anything, you know,
Again, I
in
mean,
the
like,
villages and stuff.
okay, that we can't provide,
Because we can
provide
always do activities in the town centre. That's fairly
Yeah.
easy, but
we could do activities down at Holwich playing field.
yeah.
Provide activities during the holidays there instead of doing them in Carter's Park. Going out more to the smaller villages, maybe. We could look at doing a package for village activities rather than town centre activities, and maybe rotating it around the wards so
Yeah.
you've got different things
Because you
going
can-
on.
You
can
can do
easily-
that at where I live.
Yeah.
They rotate it to the different villages.
That would be
What sort of
quite
things?
They have somebody who comes in and they do rounders.
Yeah.
Like once they do rounders.
Yeah.
They do like a mini sports event.
Yeah.
Mm.
You
You
can
know,
do
little
sports, you
races
can
and-
do there's a company that provides circus skills and things like that.
Yeah.
You could put together a package
You
of
don't get a lot of attendance actually.
of activities that were targeted at various age groups. So you could, I mean, like we were talking yesterday about the bowls club. They're looking for new members.
Yes.
That
You
could be
could
something
do
to
something
bring.
that you could do where you're trying to give a day where you can go along and have a go, but we're supporting them to provide it, but you could build that in. But if we thought of loads of different activities that then whatever suits particular villages, we could rotate them round. So you put together your package of how you want to, what funding you need to do it for a year or 2 years or whatever. But you're not just concentrating on the town centre.
If you're thinking about activities, because obviously you've got your outdoor-based activities, but then what about having activities and stuff going on more? I was just thinking, because we had the idea of you could purchase property, etc., rent it out to a group, but thinking about regenerating the high street, what you really need is it being used for stuff that's not just shopping. If there were a property that you could rent, and then you coordinate a variety of different activities, uses, etc., for community purposes within there, is that something you could almost sort of do on a trial and see how it works? It depends what ones are a reasonable rate. Because I mean, you can always use the village halls and things like that as well, but it'd just be nice to try and.
After the event that happened yesterday evening, a lot of the feedback from that is, what are the kids going to do during summer holidays?
Yeah.
6 weeks.
Yeah.
So that sport thing really does.
So
Well,
the
I've got
sport
different
thing
age-
does.
The
really-
sport
Age
thing would
groups.
attract a lot of age groups, and we're just thinking about if there's something you can provide for more the elderly population to kind of, I mean, come together and do various because they do that at the various village halls.
Maybe sewing, like a sewing group, they get somebody to come in and do like the patchwork and all like that. That seems
But
quite
it-
popular at
It could be
village
quite
halls.
nice if you had one space that's maybe used by different generations. That, you know, because there's going to be days where it's going to be wet and horrible during the summer holidays, but also then you've got the winter months. If you had activities for the kids that they actually want to do, I don't
Well, I
know
mean,
what that'd be.
you've got the hub sitting there doing very little.
I know.
I mean, you've got a massive sports hall in there that could be used
Yeah.
all year round for activities, for various, that you could do keep fit classes for the elderly, you know, like
Yeah.
seated keep fit, you could do, there's so many things that it could be used for.
High off ceiling for badminton.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Curtin pay somebody to, the children get 10 free lessons of badminton in the village hall. That's provided, it's
I think it's worth looking at seeing what sort of package of things you could put together that's not just summer events, it's inside, outside, whatever, but all sorts
age
of age groups.
And rotating it around the villages.
Yeah. Because the way you would do it is you would look at the activities you wanted to provide, source the costs for providing per session, then look at your venue costs per session, and then it doesn't actually matter where you're going to, you put together your whole package of what it's going to cost for approximately for a whole year of activity, and that will go out to all sorts of different places.
Yeah.
I mean, the tennis courts are not really used that much.
No,
You could have
I
a
do think you
professional-
could do
You could have
professional
a-
coaching on
You
that,
could,
definitely.
absolutely.
I think you could do a lot of things, really.
I think that for me, I think something around that, so it's free for the people to use, so they're getting an activity free, but then if they want to then progress later on and go into something, then it may give somebody,
isn't it?
yeah, it may give somebody an opportunity to set up a business venture, maybe.
Yeah, I think providing activities and stuff like that, but also thinking about how then it could progress, because obviously the funding is likely to come around every 3 years, but obviously if you don't have the funding, the activities will just stop. So it's how that could then, you know, actually continue, really, isn't it? I suppose.
It is. I mean, I suppose the thing is that if enough people use the activity, whatever that may be, then it is a viable thing to think, okay, so it only costs X per session to run it. We could either build it into our precept each year to provide things, or it becomes self-funding in that they pay, I don't know, £2 a session or whatever, to do it. I mean, we could subsidise it potentially, moving forward.
Obviously, I know there's a playing field or the Crown Estate in Bank. Is there? What's in St Mark's?
It's a nice big playing field,
Big
and
playing
you've got
field.
the village hall as well, but that's
Yeah.
only a small room now,
Is
because
there-
they've got the gym there now,
Yeah.
haven't they? They've got quite a lot of
And
facility in there.
Is there a
So,
sports field at home?
Yeah,
yes,
Yes.
and another village hall as well.
yeah, small village hall
So
there.
you've got Bank, Holwich Herne, Holwich St Mark's, Holwich St John's.
Yeah, and then really, Holwich Drove, could we utilise the church?
The Methodist Church?
I
Yes. I don't know what about St Polycarp's. It looks as though it's not tended for as well as it
okay.
was. I could have a look into who
Who and what?
and what. There's the Giggles Nursery,
Is there?
which used to be a
Oh,
pub.
that's just further along, isn't it?
Yes, that's still in Holbeach Drove. Holbeach Drove goes to the bend that then becomes Long Lane. There's Lambert Bank, so the Polycarp Church is in Holbeach Drove.
Yeah. Because if we could find a venue in each place to provide
Yes.
something,
For outdoor and indoor.
that would be
I don't
quite
think
good.
anything happens there at all apart from church services,
No.
very rarely.
But it's suitable for certain things because they've got the seating.
You see, it's close to Waplow Drove, and
Yeah, and
they've
you've
got
got
the
the village hall there, haven't they?
Elizabethan Centre, football ground,
Yeah.
the old church hall, which has just been done up, a few years ago. So I think most people from Drove probably go to
Go to them.
Waplow.
So I think if we could potentially thrash out between ourselves and open spaces to come up with some sort of activity
List.
package
Yeah.
and look at the costings per, if we can get costings per venue,
Well, we know how much it costs to hire a horse, so that's useful.
and then we can build it up as to how we want, you know, how frequent it would be. Would it be once a month? Would it be just in the holidays?
You know what you
are you
could
going to be
do?
looking at?
St Mark's, is you could actually have people coming out and doing sessions for skate parks, skateboarding
All
and
sorts
BMX
of stuff,
because they.
archery.
Well, yeah, archery down
Holwich
there,
St
you
John's in front of the village hall have a basketball hoop.
know. Okay.
Oh, hang on a minute. We can't necessarily provide a skate park because people did actually request that
Yeah.
on the consultation for this. But you can get companies to come out with temporary equipment and do a session.
Yeah, because they've done that before.
That's good.
So that might appease people a little bit. We can do what we can do.
Yeah, somebody's still quite keen on a permanent skate park.
Yeah.
So we need to start getting our costings together, really.
That's
don't
just
we?
going to be way above any of the funding, isn't it,
Yeah.
to be honest? Problem. But yes, that, yeah.
So if you can have a look into what is available,
Yeah.
if possible, down at
I will.
St, down Hodge Grove,
Yeah.
and then we can start to put something together then.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's that one. So the final bit is to confirm the date and venue of the next meeting. So. 2 weeks or so after the next council meeting. So.
We can do it on 22nd?
Which day suits people?
I can't do Monday.
No. So either Tuesday or the Wednesday, potentially.
The Wednesday
We've
that's
got
the date we don't
PRNIT.
give the
Yeah.
planning,
Oh,
emergency
yeah.
planning,
Oh,
offering in.
PRIT
Oh,
and then the
yes.
emergency
Yes.
planning
Yeah, so
thing,
keep that one.
possibly.
So potentially we'd go for the Tuesday then,
Yeah.
to the 23rd. Do you want the same time?
2 o'clock, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay, we'll close the meeting then at 3:03.